When Astro 1.0 came out, it was revolutionary. It showed us the best of islands architecture. You could create static content and then implement islands of dynamic behavior using whatever framework you wanted. Preact, React, Vue, and the performance results spoke for themselves. So folks fell in love with it. They used it for portfolio sites, for blogs, for corporate sites, for e-commerce. It is a fantastic platform. And now Astro 2.0 is out to make what was already great even better. They've added a content collection API, which allows you to manage collections of extended markdown files in a type-safe way. And they've also made it possible to enable server-side rendering or static site generation on a per route basis. It's freaking amazing. Now, I'm just as excited about Astro 2 as everybody else. So what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to build a catalog site for this channel to allow people to search through just the videos on this channel and keep them all organized. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and now I have the chance to do it. I'm going to put it into open source, and you're going to get to see how I do it along the way and learn about the Content Collections API, as well as the new SSR SSG switch. Let's get right into it. So here's the site that I've created. There's not really that much to look at. This is the home page. It has the most recent videos up here with their thumbnails and their titles. You can click on them and go to a detail page where you can actually watch the video. You can go back to home. There's also a search page. This is dynamic. So the header here is the only thing that is the static content. And then everything below this is a Preact island, where if you type in the search term, for example, React, it'll go and find just React videos for you. And then we'll have per topic roadmaps, like in this case, TypeScript, where if you want to learn TypeScript, it will give you a little bit of an intro at the top and then give you a list ordered of all of the videos that you should follow to learn TypeScript off of this channel. Pretty cool, right? Again, all in TypeScript, again, all on GitHub. And if you want to feel free to contribute to make it, look better or work better, feel free. I'm totally excited about that. All right, let's go and see how this is done. So what I just showed you was the completed site after 1 day of development. What I've got for you on GitHub, in addition to that, is also a project that has this Astro 2 starter in it, as well as the project where we will have completed to the point where we've completed by the end of the video. That's available to you for free as well. The starter has essentially a 2.0 setup ready to go with Preact, Node, and MDX support. So let's just launch it and I'll show you what I've got. It's also got Tailwind in it. So run dev. So all the starter has is the layout of the page. And the first thing we want to do is get some content in there. So let's go back over to our project. And I'm just going to duplicate this into a YouTube catalog project. All right, looks good. We got our YouTube catalog over here. So you're going to have the starter that has just a basic starting point for you for 2.0 of Astro. And then you're going to have this YouTube catalog where you can see all the code that we've created. So let me go in there and fire it up. Okay, looks good. The first thing we're going to do is create a content collection for our YouTube videos. So what is a content collection? Well, let's go and take a look over at the documentation. So here is the documentation for content collections in Astro. What we're going to do is we're going to create a directory called source content. And then within that, we're going to have videos. And within that, we're going to have a bunch of MDX files. And that's going to be our content. Now let's go build that. So over here to our source directory, and we'll go into that. Now we'll create a new folder called content. And within that, videos. And I'm just going to add a video there. So this is an MDX file, and it's roughly set up into two sections. At the top, you have the front matter, and the bottom, you have the content. Now, this front matter section is defined by this triple dash start and triple dash end. And within the front matter is YAML formatted data. So in this case, we've got the title, we've got a time for when the video is published, we've got thumbnails. This is standard to how YouTube actually manages their thumbnails. It's got different sizes, default, medium, high, standard, max res with the different widths, heights, as well as the URLs. And then there's tags. So in this case, these would be topics that this video is talking about, the privacy status, which is at this point is just public, and then whether it's a short or not. In this case, that's false because it's not a short. So I'm going to bring in a few more videos that match this format, just so we have something to look at. So now we've got 3 different videos in here. The real site has, I don't know, a couple hundred. I've been doing this YouTube thing for a while. And last night, as I was going through all the videos and kind of curating it, I was realizing just how much YouTube content I have out there. The next thing that we need to do, now that we have added some content in our videos collection, is we need to define for Astro the structure of that collection. And primarily that means 1, identifying it, saying that we have a videos collection, and 2, specifying the schema of it. So in this case, title is a string, published as a date, the thumbnail is a particular type of object. So how do we go and do that? Well, let's go take a look at the documentation. And we'll go down here to defining collections. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a file called source content config.ts. And in there, we're going to bring in this define collection, and we're going to define a collection called videos collection, and then export that on a key called collections. So you can have multiple collections of different types of content, and they can be interrelated. In my case, we're going to have videos, and then we're going to have roadmaps. I'm not going to get into the roadmaps in terms of a construction in this video, but if you look over at the code for that project, then you go and see how I do roadmaps. And let's go build this. So over here in content, we're going to need a config.ts. And in there, I'm going to bring in Z, which is a wrapper around Zod, as well as define collection. And then I'm going to define a schema for our video collection. And then we'll export that. So what do we have in our videos? Well, we have that title. So let's go and add a key for that. So we're going to add title as a string, and then publish that as a date. And then we're going to have some tags, right? We have a tag down here, and that's just an array of strings in YAML format. So what we do is we define that as an array of strings that is optional in this case. That's fine. What is this syntax? Well, this is all Zod. So Zod is a way of, in a type-safe way, defining the structure of data so that you can verify it. You can ask Zod to go and verify a particular piece of data matches a schema. You can also infer from a Zod schema like this the actual types. So it helps you in the TypeScript world, because then you can actually, as you are using these collections, actually just get hinting for all of these types, which is really awesome. The next interesting one is around thumbnails. So this is how you define a nested set of objects. So in this case, we're going to define an object. It's going to have a default key, and then within that, it's going to have URL width and height for default. Default in this case is just one of the sizes, right? So default, not the JS term default, it's just default as a key. But we also have medium, high, standard, and max res. So let's go and add in those. And then finally, we have privacy static, which is going to be one of one, I guess in this case, public, and then a short, which is a Boolean. And that's it. That is our configuration for a video schema. And the way that it's connected to that directory name, videos, is down here. So we got videos is connected to video schema. So it looks like we're good to go. All right, so now that we defined our collection, let's go over to the homepage, which in this case is index.astro, and then we'll implement getting the collection and just getting the data from it. See how it looks. Now in this Astro 2.0 starter project, there are 3 different types of files that you can work with. One is a .astro file, which is what we're looking at here, which is an Astro component. Another one is the MD or NBX files, those are markdown. And then finally, there's .tsx files, which are going to be Preact files. This is the Astro file for the homepage. And when it comes to Astro files, in that front matter section, where with MDX we had YAML, in this case, we've got TypeScript, which is awesome. So let's go bring in our Astro content. So what is Astro content? Well, Astro content is a TypeScript declared namespace. You can actually see it over here in .astro. It's automatically generated by Astro for you. They're declaring Astro content. And we actually have down here the videos kind of listed out. They're not completely fleshed out. We actually go and get that stuff on the fly, I think, when we build. So now that we've got our collection, we can just go and get the videos from that. And I'm just going to drop in here a JSON stringify that shows all that. Now let's go take a look at our page. And there you go. How freaking cool is that? That's amazing. All right, let's go back to the code. And what I want to do now is kind of show off the typing side of this, because these videos are fully typed. So I want to get the most recent videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by saying recent videos. And then I'm going to get all videos as a copy. And I'm going to sort it. So what we want to do is we want to subtract the B time from the A time. So let's do that. B dot. And here you go. Here is the typing from the schema, because we created that Zod setup and Astro has automatically gone and built the types for us. So under here on data, we can see that we have our published at, and we can get the time off that. And we can subtract it from the other one, and that will give us descending date. And we'll just slice that off to the top 10. And that gives us our recent videos, which we can then just output. I can't really see any difference because it's just JSON stringified. But I can see, looking at this, that Islands Architecture, Web Dev's Next Big Thing, that was what I just published on Friday. So yeah, that is actually giving us our most recent videos. Awesome. Isn't that great? We can go and have these markdown files not just have the content that we want, but have real metadata that we can use in our application. Just great. But now I want to make it look good. So let's go over to components, and I'm going to create a Preact file that is a video card. I could create an Astro component, or I could create a view component. I'm going to use Preact for this because later on when we do the search page, I want to be able to create dynamic video cards. So let's try this out. Let's create a video card.tsx, and I'll bring in the definition for the video card. Now the video card is just going to take a high resolution thumbnail with a URL as well as a title. All of that comes from the data that we just specified. And then it's just a lot of Tailwind magic to make it look good. So here we go, video card. Now I'm going to bring it into our index.astro. And I'll just map through the recent videos and create those cards. So I'm going to send it the title, and then I'm going to send it the thumbnails. Let's check it out. Oh, there you go. How cool is that? It looks pretty crappy. Let's go and make a grid structure that we can just pass a set of videos to and have it render it for us in a nice way. So to do that, I'm going to create another Preact component called video grid. And in there, I'll bring in some code. We're going to bring in that collection entry from Astro content, because what we're going to do with that is when we define the list of videos, we're just going to say that we want the videos as defined by that collection entry. Super cool. Again, the fact that that was created automatically for us is just phenomenal. Okay, looks good. We're just, again, doing some Tailwind magic to create some nice grid layout, and we'll go back over to our index.astro and bring that in. And down here, we'll use video grid, and then just give it our video. Get rid of that, and let's try it out. Awesome. Next thing I want to do is create a detail page. So we're going to have some route. It's going to be like videos, and then what's called a slug. And a slug is a nice user ID for the article. In this case, we want the slug to be based on the title. So in this case, like Islands Architecture. So we need a slug creator that takes a title and turns it into something that doesn't have any URL special characters in it. So let's go back over to our code, create a new directory called lib, and then in there, create a create slug implementation. And all it's going to do is just take the title, and it's going to sanitize it a little bit. We're just going to restrict it to just alphanumerics and spaces. Then we're going to trim it down, and then we're going to replace those spaces with underscores. Now let's go back over here to our video grid, and we'll bring in that create slug. And then down here, we have our link to our video. So let's put in an href for that. And we'll give it create slug. And then again, all of the cool hinting. So we'll just give it the title, and let's see what we got. All right, so it couldn't find bun versus node, and I actually do want to put it in a /videos directory. So let's go and make this a template. There we go. That looks good. I like it. All right, now we need to go and create that videos directory. So over here under pages, we need a new folder called videos, and then within that we need a dynamic route that's going to take the parameter and connect it to slug. So let's create a new file with brackets slug.astro. So this is very similar to how Next.js does it. Anything in that bracket is going to be turned into a parameter that is then sent to the page. All right, let's start by creating some front matter. We'll bring in our Astro content. We'll also bring in our layout. Now in these dynamic routes, we're going to be creating it statically. So we're going to create the pages for all of the content. To do that, we need to do the similar thing that we do with Next.js 12, which is to give it the list of static paths. So this would be all of the content that we want to create. So let's go and bring in a getStaticPaths method. It's going to go get our collection, and then it's going to return a map that has the parameters as well as the props for each page. So we need to bring in our createSlug. At this point, what will happen is Astro will have called getStaticPaths to go and get all of the paths. And we are now in the place where we need to handle the rendering of a single path. So we need to bring in the data that we got from the props. We give the video here as the prop, so that's going to map through to this astro.props. And it's also going to bring in render. And what render is render is going to give us a content component that we can slot in somewhere, and that's going to be the rendered MDX. So now we need to render something, so let's create a layout to start. And then within that, we'll put the title. And let's see, did that work? Go back over here to our arc, hit refresh. And yeah, there we go. We got our bun versus node round 2. Awesome. Very cool. If I go over here to Islands Architecture, perfect. And if I go over to our Visual Studio Code and we do a PM build here, we can see it automatically creating the static site for us. So in this case, we're going to have a videos directory that has this slug in it with index.html, and that's going to do this just wildly fast pages. But even in development, it's really fast. Let's go take a look at that. So let's go over to our inspector, bring up our lighthouse. And yep, 100% performance. All right, let's finish this up. Next we need to do is add a video player. So I'm going to go and just add a YouTube player, embed. I'm going to take the MDX off of the ID and give us a player. There we go. Cool. And then finally, I'm going to render our content. So this would be the MDX content for this. And that goes down here. Bundle sizes and hydration are killing web applications. And all of this content is within this class that has the Tailwind pros on it. So what's pros? Well, we go over here to Tailwind config CJS, and we can see that we have a typography plugin. This typography adds that pros. What pros does is it supports Markdown. So we'll go back over here to our videos. Let's see which one had Islands Architecture. That one. Okay, so here, if I go and add some TypeScript in here, there we go. We'll add some numbers. Let's go take a look over at our page. And wow, it's actually all laid out. That's just awesome. Really nice. And wow, we have a code sample all formatted. That is just beautiful. Honestly, when it comes to this video, half of me is just really excited to introduce Astro 2 to you. The other part is just like, hey, look at what I'm going to be able to do for my own videos. This is just awesome. The last thing I wanted to show you was this search functionality. So we can click on over there into there, and currently there's nothing on search, it's just a blank page. But what we want to do is we want to put a dynamic island where we make a call to an API that's going to give us the articles and have that hosted by Astro. And then, of course, we want to put the search page on top of that. So the first thing we need to do is define this as a server that's capable of server-side rendering. So let me go close a bunch of these files. And now we're going to go down to our Astro config. And in the Astro config, I'm going to turn this from the current definition, which is a statically site-generated model, into a node SSR-based model. So now by default, every route is going to be SSR-based as opposed to SSG-based. All right, that's set up. Let me go and reboot. Okay, so now the home page works, but if I click on the detail page, we get a blow-up. And the reason for that is because we migrated from a statically site-generated site to a SSR site. And in the SSR model, you don't have get static paths, so nothing is set up properly when it comes to this page. We don't have the props, we don't have the render, and that's what's blowing up. So this is never getting called, this get static paths. What we need to do is we need to be able to say that this path is statically rendered. And all we need to do that is just add in pre-render true. And now route by route, we can define what's pre-rendered and what's not, which is fantastic. So let's go back over here to our arc, and there we go, works first time. And we can even do that for the index page since it too is pre-rendered. So let's see if that works. And of course it does. And if we go over here to build it, let's see. And there we go. Now it's automatically pre-rendered those routes. Let's bring up the server again. Now that we've got SSR running, we can go and add an endpoint to service our search request. So let's go back over here to search and start getting this worked out. The search endpoint is going to be search.json. And I will go and paste in the implementation here, and we can just walk through it. Again, we're going to bring in that Astro content. We're going to bring in a node-based free text search module called Lunar. And then for TypeScript, we're going to go and get the videos and then pull out all of the video IDs. And that's this nice little pick here. We're going to go and get the collection of entries for videos, and we're going to pull out just the ID. And then from that, we're going to just get the IDs, and that's going to give us a list of all of the potential IDs. Next, on startup, we're going to go and get the collection of videos. And then with that, we are going to return an object that has the raw video list as well as our index that we're going to build. We give it the ID, the title, body, and tags, and we use that to initialize this Lunar index. And then we need to define the get verb. So down here in our functions, we've got a get, takes the request. It then does the lookup of the video's promise. The nice thing about using this promise in this case is that we will await on the first request all of this being done, which is fairly time consuming. And then on subsequent requests, because it's a promise and it's already resolved, we'll just get the resolved result over and over and over again. So now we've got our video index that includes the list of videos as well as the Lunar lookup. So then we're going to get the query string from the URL. We then search based on the Lunar search. So we're going to use that index to do that search. We're going to take the results that come back, which has got an ID on it, and turn those back into the videos by looking through that video index. Then finally, we're going to filter that down to just the ones that exist. And then we're going to run that through sort to give us our descending date order. And then we just return the top 10 videos from that. And that's it. So let's go and try this out. So let's go back over here to our terminal, bring up another terminal. We'll do a curl. We'll look for Astro. You know, there's a couple videos on that. And we get back our Astro videos. All right, that works. Now we can build a search page on top of that. So what does search currently look like? Well, it looks like an empty layout. So what we need to do is build a search page dynamic component to drop in there. All right, let's just start off with a search page component. And then we can bring in that into search.astro and just use it. Now, Preact is just like React when it comes to hooks. You're going to have useState and useEffect, so let's go bring those in. So we're going to use useState to manage the list of videos as well as the search term, and then we're going to use useEffect to make the fetch call whenever we get a change to the search text. So let's define those pieces of data first. So for search, this is going to be a string, and then for the videos, this is going to be the video data. So we need to bring that in, and we bring in our Astro content, and we just get the video data from the collection entry videos. Cool. And of course, we want to format it in one of our nice video grids. So let's bring that in. And let's return out an input field that has our search value in it, as well as set search, and then video grid. Let's see how we go. Looks good. We have a search field, but nothing happens when we type into it, which you'd expect because we don't have a useEffect yet. So let's add in our useEffect to fetch search.json, and we'll encode our search. We'll get back the JSON, we'll set the videos, and nothing happens. So why is that? Well, the trick is over here in search.astro. Anytime that you use a component, you need to tell Astro whether this is a client component or not. And by default, it is not a client component. So I'm going to go and put here client on load. That's going to make sure that that island of dynamic behavior is enabled on the client, that we send it the JavaScript to enable that island. So let's hit this. Yeah, better already. So let's type in Astro, and there we go. Let's type in bun. There we go. How cool is that? Okay, well, what do we learn? Well, when it comes to Astro 2, we've learned about the new content collection API, and it's awesome. You have a type-safe content collection system, basically a CMS system for free, baked right into Astro 2 to power your portfolio sites, your blogs, whatever you want to put it on. In this case, a YouTube search page. And of course, you've got the project code that I'm working on that you can contribute to if you want to. You've got the starter kit, and you've also got the code that you just saw to give you the content collection as well as the enabling of the search, all of that great stuff. So a lot of good places for you to start your investigation into Astro 2. Well, I hope you're as excited about Astro 2.0 as I am. Of course, if you like this video, feel free to hit that like button. If you really like the video, hit the subscribe button and click on that bell, and you'll be notified the next time a new Blue Collar Coder comes out.